Hey everybody, it's Hawk here, and today we are going to talk about rats. Yeah, they seem like a really mundane thing to talk about, right? But rats really suck, especially in a medieval context. I mean, the Black Plague was caused partially by rats. I mean, it was the fleas on the rats that caused it, that caused the spread of it. But the rats are kind of everywhere. It's why cats are so important in so many cultures, because they make rats go away. Now, we think of rats just as a pest of, oh, they're going to go eat the grain in my silo, or they're going to go chew through wires in my walls, or anything like that. But there are accounts of rats actually biting people while they were asleep. And this goes all the way up well into the early 20th century. I mean, it's definitely dying down by that point, but it's all the way up until only 100 or so years ago that rats weren't that much of a problem. And even then, they were still pretty freaking annoying. Now, in a medieval fantasy setting, it gets worse, because now we have even more exotic diseases to deal with. Anybody who has ever played Skyrim or Oblivion knows about rock joint, unless, of course, you happen to be playing as an Argonian. For those of you who have not embraced your scaled overlords, you're probably going to have to deal with rock joint at some point. The animal's going to hit you, you're going to get rock joint. It's not a huge deal. It's just kind of annoying, really. It's an annoying little thing to have. Which is why I play Argonians, because it doesn't happen. You should really accept your scaled overlords. But those are, of course, coming from the giant rats, the skeevers in Skyrim, or just giant rats in Oblivion. Now, normal rats would, of course, have those too. And like I said, these are just fancier, more annoying diseases. Now, I know diseases don't come up terribly often in various D&D games. At least mine don't. Maybe yours do. But it's very much a thing common people would have to deal with. And adventurers, of course, have to deal with it too, because you're walking around in abandoned, desolated areas, and of course, vermin are going to exist out there. Which means you have to deal with vermin in your sleeping bags, in your tents, getting in your carts, if you happen to have a beast of burden pulling all your stuff in a wagon. My group does, because it's convenient. It's also a nice thing to ride in. Now, that's just normal rats. Now, of course, you're going, wow, how bad is that? Rats are horrifying. I happen to know there is a form of torture where people take a metal bucket, put a rat in it, flip it over onto someone's stomach, and then you heat the bucket. Where do you think the rat's going? Through you, because you're the path of least resistance. Heck, if you were to toss a person into a box full of rats, they'd be eaten. Rats do that normally in our world. This isn't D&D where you get rat swarms, okay? Rat swarms suck. Of course, we're not even getting into all the crazy other ones. There's, what is it, lunar rats? Where depending on the, I think they're called either lunar rats or moon rats. It means the same thing, but they get smarter as the moon goes through its cycles. So they have smart rats. We haven't even gotten into hive minds. Yeah, that applies to all swarms. Hive minds, the bigger the swarm, smarter they are, the more magic they have access to. Yes, they get magic. They start shooting fireballs and stuff at people. Or, more accurately, they probably do various sorts of manipulation, basically make people hit them with various suggestions and make them ignore them as they can continue to grow in power. There's also cranium rats. They're really just weird. They're just really smart rats. They're just odd. These are all, again, normal-sized rats. Alright, we're not getting into anything fancy here. It's just, well, they're fancy, but they're just normal-sized rats. Okay? We're not talking about the rat the size of a dog. And I can tell you as somebody who lives out in a rural area, a rat that big, okay, so we're talking twice the size of a possum. I already don't like possums. So now you've taken a possum, doubled its size, and made it cranky, because rats are actually rather vicious little suckers. They are, I mean, we think of them as prey animals, but they are predatory. Predatory to insects and basically everything smaller than them. They'll happily eat anything smaller than they are. So now you get a rat that big. So you get a rat that big, now you get a couple of buddies with it. I have a feeling they would start acting like skeevers. Or the giant rats in New Vegas, or of course, giant rats in anything. I mean, it's a joke, right? Go deal with the giant rats in the basement of the tavern. It's the first thing adventurers do. I'm going to be honest. If giant rats were that big of an issue, there wouldn't be a whole lot of civilians left. There's an anecdotal story I have here. It's not my game, but somebody else, as a one-off, on a forum I'm on. I wasn't part of this game, but they ran a game where they had everybody play as just commoners. And the whole thing was, hey, you are going to go and deal with some adventurer problems, right? Because that was the whole point. You got expert levels, or you maybe have a warrior level. You have the NPC class levels. Now, the reason he was doing this is because he wanted to point out why adventurers make sense in the context of these settings. Because they seem kind of silly, right? Like, why is this going on? Well, it's heroic fantasy, so they're a cut above the rest, right? Now, so they all went and they decided to go try to deal with rats. It didn't go well. They just went down there, armed with clubs and sticks and things. The rats wiped them. Yep, just a handful of rats in the basement. I think it was only like 6 of them, wasn't too many. Wiped them. So they go again, different people in the town. Go down there trying to deal with rats. So one of them set a bear trap on the stairs. Fought him. It was going bad, so he runs back up. He gets his leg caught in the bear trap, and that's actually what killed him, because he went below negatives and the rats ate him. Now at this point, the rats are multiplying, so there's multiples of them. They maybe killed a rat or 2 in here, but basically they can't keep up this sort of stuff. They keep trying this again and again and again, and basically half the town's dead now, and then the rest of the town gets overrun with giant rats. The rest of the party walks away. Players go, oh, I guess adventurers kind of make sense. Everyone had a good laugh. It was funny. It's like, that kind of sucks. Goofy D&D stuff, right? Because, it's the universe where a house cat can kill basically anything. Can kill any normal person, as hilarious as that is. So, a couple months go by in real life, and they are playing their game. They come on through a town, and there's just dead people everywhere. There's skeletons laying on. Like, oh my god, what happened? So they're all on the defensive. They're all looking around. They're going, all right, something's up here. And they get into the tavern. They walk down the stairs and they see a skeleton with their foot stuck in the bear trap. And they're like, oh my god. See, because it kind of hit and they're like, yeah, adventures kind of make sense. But then they really walk in there and then they see it and it really hits them. Adventurers make a lot of sense. Because you can't go dealing with something that big in a medieval context by yourself. Makes sense. I couldn't. If I were to wake up one day and there were anywhere from 4 to 6 animals that big in my basement, and I didn't have a gun, I would very much pay someone else to deal with it. Now, I have swords. I could kind of go deal with them like that. Or I could, of course, get a spear and possibly deal with them coming off the stairs and stabbing down into my basement, but I really don't want to do that. I'll happily pay somebody else. Oh, here, wait, what is it? 20 bucks? Yeah, here's 20 bucks. Go deal with it. I want nothing to do with this. She's a dire rat. Okay? Just think about it. It's a normal animal. It's not anything terribly fancy other than the fact that it's large. It's just a big rat. We could have something like that live in our world. We kind of do. I mean, you could technically say a raccoon's basically a giant rat. It's not actually related, I know. Well, honestly, it's just literally an upsized rat. Rats are nasty little guys, and that's why they're so terrifying. Rats are aggressive. Rats bite you when they're this big. Okay? They're that big and they're aggressive. Now we've increased their size by 10-fold. I don't think the aggression's gone up by 10-fold, but they're big. They're 10 times bigger. What, you think they ain't going to try to bite your leg off? God, I would hate those things. I would hate them so much, because of course they're diseased. They'd be diseased and mangy as hell. I mean, you've seen skeevers. They look disgusting. That's what you're dealing with. A diseased, angry little fuzzball of murder. Now the upside is, how do you deal with that? Easy. Stab it, shoot it, burn it, electrocute it, melt it, freeze it, stomp on it, kick it into a wall, grab it by its tail and pretend you're in a Monty Python movie, dance on it, and you can kind of, if you're getting my point, they're not a massive threat to adventurers. I mean, frankly, the only reason they're a threat to commoners is the fact that I don't have any armor. Okay, I'm clearly dressed up as the mage today, so I would be staying up the stairs just going, ha ha, ray of fire, ray of fire, ray of fire, ray of fire. Yeah, I'm not going down that. And if they get near me, I'm just going to start beating the crap out of them with a stick, freaking out, screaming like a little girl. I don't care. If I was wearing armor, though, like a proper person, I would not use an axe. That would be a terrible weapon choice. Hey, if I was wearing proper armor, honestly, you just need leg armor. Ha-ha! I mean, it'd be easy enough to solve by just beating the crap out of a mace. Or my trusty friend, the spear. Can't go wrong with a big pointy stick. But yeah, rats. They're annoying, they get everywhere, they climb on things. They'll generally be diseased, so watch out for that, of course, because you might need to go talk to the priest afterwards to go heal you. But eminently manageable. Unless a ton of them show up in a swarm that has formed a hive mind, and then they start shooting lightning at you with their brain. Now I'm not going to give you a way to how to beat those. How to beat normal swarms is simple. You just redirect them away from you. So, throwing fire in front of them should do it. Setting them on fire is great. Hitting them with lightning is great. Of course, AoEs. It's AoEs. They're your best friend. Lighting them on fire and all that. You can't really drown them in water. I mean, you kind of could, but it's... I wouldn't bother trying. Boiling water would work, though. Again, this all comes back to fire. Just burn them. It should solve the problem. Now, if it's a hive mind, have fun. I can't tell you how to solve a hive mind because each hive mind is different. It is a unique being. It has its own personality, it has its own intelligence levels, and it has its own access to its own unique spell list. Each one will, of course, be different. Now, the spell list is, of course, taken from the Sorcerer Wizard list, but that's not the point. The point is, each one is going to have assembled its own repertoire of spells solely based upon its own needs. Certain ones will, of course, have a lot of offensive spells. Other ones will have lots of control spells. I'm assuming they're going to go into more control aspects because, frankly, they have a bunch of swarms hanging around them. They literally are several thousand to possibly million rats. Really hope they're not that. And by the way, the hive mind is not limited to rats. You can have hive minds of bats, lizards. Literally anything. If it can swarm, it can form a hive mind. Just to point that out to you. So everything in the bugs, everything that bugs the bug swarms, here too. Bugs and rat swarms, hive minds, it applies. So they're probably going to be more controllery, and they've probably co-opted other swarms that they haven't directly brought into themselves. Every time they lose one of those component swarms, they get dumber and lose spells, and that's bad for them, so they don't want to do that. So they probably have mundane swarms that aren't part of the hive mind that they'll send after you, and then they'll just, throw various control spells at you so you can't do anything while the swarms eat you. They will, of course, have probably other buddies and whatnot. Now, they could just say screw that and start throwing lightning everywhere, or fire, or what have you, because they can. Or they could, of course, go with the mental suggestion routes and various other shenaniganery. Basically, it's a big shrug. I don't know. It depends on the situation, depends on its personality for the most part. Some hive minds don't really want to just be horrible monsters. Most of them do, because most of them want to just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And in order to do that, they have to start eating things, which means they'll start eating people. Though there's one thing they all have in common, they are generally fairly devious, because they would like to not be discovered as to what they are. But you solve that problem much the same way you solve a whole lot of problems in D&D. Light it on fire! More fire, make the swarms die, it will get dumber and keep getting worse and worse and worse. Basically, once you start that cascade effect, it'll hit a point where it can't unscrew itself. And then it'll just plummet and crash right into the ground, and it'll be wonderful for you. Now, hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Rats are a fun thing I enjoy using. I've used them before. They are very entertaining, all the way up much farther levels than one would expect. But they are a great party, and they're really fun for annoying the crap out of your players, so keep them in mind for future games. That being said, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, because it's YouTube, and it's inconsistent as hell. And I will see you all later. Peace out.